What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor of Fightful.com and FightfulWrestling.com, here for a breaking news podcast. Usually I just do these news videos, but I get the feeling this one might be a little bit longer than those. I'm going to answer your questions. Perhaps the biggest news story in recent wrestling memory, and that seemed to have happened quite a bit lately. Daniel Bryan, former WWE World Heavyweight Champion and WrestleMania main eventer, current SmackDown general manager, has been cleared to return to WWE action. This comes after 3 years outside the ring. I was there in Cincinnati when he forfeited the Intercontinental Championship, saw grown men with tears in their eyes, and of course, he retired just a couple years ago. This comes just a couple weeks before WrestleMania. Boy, is that big. Now, I hadn't heard anything about him getting cleared in recent weeks, and I had asked and I had followed up. All I had heard was he's trying to get cleared, and that is very much a grass is green, water is wet situation because he was always trying to get cleared, even though his contract's up in a few months, and he could realistically do whatever it is that he wants after that. So he doesn't have a 90-day no-compete. He's back in the fold, and this is a game changer for WWE. He is immediately a top guy, instantly over, main event level that you could put anywhere you want him. He can fit anywhere, any brand, and he's going to be an instant shot in the arm. I'm sure Roman Reigns is sitting around going, well, son of a bitch. That reaction's going to be something. We have a reactions piece coming to Fightful.com. We're, of course, going to talk more about this on the SmackDown post-show tonight. That one is going to be wild. And, of course, we have all your articles over at Fightful.com and FightfulWrestling.com. I'll go ahead and hit you all with the one plug. We do have premium content coming soon that you all will be able to support Fightful.com on. We're not going to move anything there that was there as far as a month back. It's going to be all like new or freshly new content. You all are going to like it a whole lot, so keep your eyes peeled for that. If it's your first time visiting Fightful.com, we have post-Raw, post-SmackDown, post-pay-per-view podcasts, and the List and Your Boy on Wednesday afternoons. We have that Strong Style Evolved show on Sunday. Now, New Japan and Ring of Honor's implications in this, they probably thought that they were going to get a big name in Daniel Bryan later this year. That's not so clear anymore. Had Daniel Bryan not been cleared by WWE, there is a very good possibility that he would have been headed towards New Japan or Ring of Honor. Who knows if that's the case now? It's up in the air. And he's not commented on it. Andrew Doherty says, think there actually may be more than that fact that we think maybe. There's a lot of question marks surrounding this. And Daniel Bryan has always been very transparent and honest in what he does and what's going on in his life. So we'll find out. Angle versus Bryan might be something now, eh? I think Daniel Bryan versus The Miz is more of something now, eh? I mean, The Miz is going to get his ass kicked. Poor guy. If there is anything to AJ being out of Mania, could he be replaced by Daniel Bryan? Yep, that's probably the one name that could do it, although AJ Styles said today that he would go to WrestleMania and perform on one leg if he had to. So I don't think that AJ is going to be easily forced out of something like that. However, if you were to put Daniel Bryan versus Nakamura on WrestleMania, I think that would fly. You'd have some people upset, of course, because some people would be upset about anything. But yeah, that's the situation. Is he really cleared? Yes, Daniel Bryan is really cleared. WWE sent me a press release literally a minute or seconds after I went on the air for the Holy Smokes MMA podcast. And it says, quote, following more than 2 years of extensive evaluations, WWE superstar Daniel Bryan has been medically cleared to return to in-ring competition by leading neurosurgeons, neurologists, and concussion experts, including Dr. Robert Cantu, Dr. Javier Cardenas, and Dr. Jeffrey Kutcher. Bryan underwent a full review of his medical history and received comprehensive neurological and physical evaluations independent of WWE. He was cleared by each doctor as well as WWE's medical director, Dr. Joseph Maroon, end quote. They then run down the credentials and the history of Dr. Robert Cantu, Javier Cardenas, Jeffrey Kutcher, and Joseph Maroon. Whew, boy. Question marks just surrounding this whole deal. Where will he fall into this Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn situation? Shane McMahon stepped down last week. Did WWE know then? I'm working to find all this out. I can tell you that talent didn't know. At least the talent that I've talked to. If you saw me on the Holy Smokes podcast, I was listening to Showdown Joe while texting each contact in my phone that I could to find out who knows? Who knew what? Did this catch them off guard? And every single person said, yep, this one caught me off guard. This is a special situation. This is a different situation. This is a wild situation. Imagine the pop that you're going to hear for Daniel Bryan if and when he hits the ring tonight. Man. Adam Pearson says, my ideal person to replace him is Edge. I would go as far as to make it a duo. Make it Edge and Christian. Why not? Have a bit of a committee there working on this situation. I've said situation like so many times because this is a situation that is unfolding. Shout outs to Pat Fannin for getting that work done and Carlos Toro for working on the reactions piece. I was going to have Jimmy Van on this. He has a meeting at 4:30. I was going to have Alex on this. He was working. He was taking care of his kid. And I said, can your kid work the mic? And Alex said, not at all. She is a shit promo. Whew. Hat with Gutters says, hope he stops the suicide dives. Yeah, if I were him, I would change that. Well, the thing is, he had I don't know if it was half sarcastically or whatever, but worked on a wrestling style that avoided bumps a lot for him. I get the feeling you won't see him doing the front drop kicks, the flying headbutts, but do we need that out of Daniel Bryan? No, we don't. Big Cass also cleared the madness of this. He's almost cleared too. I don't know that he's completely cleared. I know that he was at the PC recently. He'll be one that I think has a little bit more trouble fitting in, especially with the emergence of a Braun Strowman. If Cass ends up on Raw or on the opposite brand of Strowman, I think he stands a much better chance. And WWE doesn't like to clear people and then immediately slide them into WrestleMania. But think about this. In the matter of a short period of time, you could see Samoa Joe, Jason Jordan, Big Cass, Daniel Bryan all coming back. We don't know when Ambrose is coming back. Last year, right after WrestleMania, we got that influx of talent as well, and they didn't put Samoa Joe on the show. They didn't put Finn Balor on the show. So we'll see where that leads us. This is so no more flying knee and only yes lock. I don't know about that at all. I mean, Nakamura doesn't do the flying knee, did the same thing pretty much, the Kinshasa, but he did it at even a higher level and higher velocity than Daniel Bryan did. Whew, boy. This is something. Cass and Corbin on the same roster seems kind of redundant. Yeah, it does. I'm not going to argue with you there. But Cass is going to have a hard time getting over as a monster, a 7-foot-tall monster on any brand that Braun Strowman is on. And to be honest with you, I do not want to see those Braun Strowman Big Cass matches because you know Vince McMahon would just love to do it. Ugh. Who do I think Daniel Bryan's first opponent would be? Well, naturally, you would have to insert him into this Owens, Zayn, McMahon situation, right? Nobody wants to see him fighting Shane McMahon. I mean, maybe that's the way you introduce him. After 3 years, he beats a guy that's not in wrestling, and there's a lot of things you could do with him. You could have him immediately step in and beat a top guy, or you can have him struggle to earn his way back or to work his way back. And maybe in his own mind, he questions things. Because if you remember when Shawn Michaels came back after 4 or 5 years, he didn't know if he wanted to be back full time. And you could draw those parallels to Daniel Bryan. Now, Daniel Bryan wants to be back. Will they have him working live events? I don't know. That's all things that we're going to find out in the coming week that I'm hoping that I get answers to. Someone says to put Cass with Carmella. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. Who would I make the new GM of SDL? Edge and Christian. That's who I think works best for that. And I think a babyface works very well for that. Michaels had a legendary return match he did, and then he didn't know if it was going to be one and done or not. And to be fair to Shane McMahon, for as much as I don't like to see him on my screen, that match with AJ Styles last year, What can you say about that? That was a great match. That was a lot of fun. Bryan versus Styles. Look at the roster right now. It's all fresh for Daniel Bryan. Even if he went back to guys that he's fought before, he hasn't fought them in 3 years. So you got Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar. Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns. Again. Daniel Bryan, John Cena again. Yeah, sure, why not? Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins. Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe. Daniel Bryan, Kurt Angle. Daniel Bryan, Chris Jericho. You can just go back to them. And see, the thing is, none of those stand out to me as like, oh, that's been done to death. Well, they did Daniel Bryan versus The Miz a few times, and you better believe that I am excited to see that. And yes, I know that Carmella and Cass broke up, but they still remain close. And if that were done for the sake of bettering their characters, I'm sure both of them would do it, because them as an act, as a heel act, is much better than I think what either one of them can do on their own. Somebody says Daniel Bryan versus Undertaker at the rate we're going. Why not? Why not do it? Daniel Bryan, Nakamura. Hey, give me Daniel Bryan versus Shelton Benjamin for 15 minutes on an episode of SmackDown. And then I'll just take the garden hose out and soak myself. Daniel Bryan, Rusev these days. They're all fresh, my man. Somebody says, do you see Sheamus and Cesaro moving to SmackDown? I don't, but Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro while we're at it. Haven't seen that one in a while. Hot dog. So Daniel Bryan returns. Well, returns. Has been cleared. Unbelievable. This whole thing just unfolding on Tuesday afternoon, hours before SmackDown Live. How is SmackDown Live not must watch tonight? How are you not tuning into our SmackDown Live post show on Fightful.com? How are you not hitting that thumbs up, that subscribe button? Better do it. Better do it. Can't wait for Bryan versus Strowman. You want to talk about the ultimate David versus Goliath. Strowman's entire run has been contained within the absence of Daniel Bryan. We've not really seen much interaction out of those two. Somebody says, hell, I'll take Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus again. There's a story to that too. There really is a story to that too. Yeah, and I can't wait to see what kind of video that WWE puts together for Daniel Bryan returning. This is a big deal, and it's funny because Melissa, our SEO woman, says he's a bit of an ad killer. A lot of the casual fans don't really click on our ads for him. And I said, Melissa, my friend, that's going to change. It's going to change. After 3 years, you just start to wonder, like, what has changed? And then something like this comes about. You can never be. I didn't think they were going to clear him at all. Jimmy Van on our Wednesday show said that he thought that Daniel Bryan would stick with WWE for better or for worse. Man. Just want to give a plug, guys. This week I am doing that post-NXT show. It'll be sometime late Wednesday night, maybe early Thursday. That may be moving to our premium service. Wanted to give you all a heads up. That way it's not a blinding thing. Didn't want to pull the old bait and switch on you, but I did that to kind of test the waters, see the interest in it with hopes that we could add that to our upcoming premium service. But this week on that show and the Listing You Boy, I have Adam Hangman Page and Switchblade Jay White of New Japan and Ring of Honor ahead of their Strong Style Evolved match. We will be coming at you live Sunday evening, right after New Japan Strong Style Evolved, and bringing you live post-show reactions and all that stuff. We got a lot of those reaction pieces on our Fightful YouTube now as well, like to Ultimate Deletion. We pull those from our podcasts. And if this is your first time checking us out, I like to have actors, comedians, businessmen on these shows. I did some wrestling in my day, done a lot of journalism, so I like to get views from actor standpoint, from comedian standpoint. That way we can break down the angles in wrestling, the character development, the plot holes with a little bit of experience. Yeah, Senor Nerd says, how about Daniel Bryan versus any of the current NXT dudes? McIntyre, Adam Cole, Gargano, Ricochet, Ciampa. Possibilities are endless, and guys are wrestling into their mid to late 40s now. I don't know if Daniel Bryan has that in him. We did see Shawn Michaels come back after a debilitating back injury, and he worked a full-time schedule for a while. And he got, in my opinion, his run post-back injury was better than his wrestling before the back injury. Now, that can be debated. Somebody says, Daniel Bryan on 205 Live, maybe. If you wanted to give that some juice, you could. I'd be shocked if they did that. But if they wanted to give that some juice, you could certainly do that as well. He fits in absolutely anywhere. Trevor Williams says, Mania was looking good, but this is just a cherry on top. Yeah, on paper, WrestleMania, that card looks like it's going to be really, really good. Have all the concussion lawsuits been dropped / ended? And this would explain why all of a sudden he can wrestle again. I'll have to check on the status of those. I know that Muhammad Hassan, when I interviewed him in January 2016. And then I did a follow-up with him, and like he did a follow-up on the follow-up, and it was around the time that concussion lawsuit started, and he made sure to mention, I'm still feeling the pain and stuff, so you don't know ever who's just going to pop up and be a part of one of those, because I didn't think that Mark Kapani, Muhammad Hassan, who's on a Matt Coon's podcast, Matt Coon and Robbie E's podcast this week, check it out, Why It Ended. I never thought that he would have anything to do with WWE, even a lawsuit. But, and because, I mean, he's a successful guy outside. So you never know who's just going to pop up and be like, bam, suing you. Raven was on WWE DVDs all the time, and he still sued WWE. Will Miz have to give up all the moves he saw? I think to the contrary. I think Miz will probably turn it up. Do you think WWE cleared him only because they fear he would go to New Japan or Ring of Honor and bring all that audience with him? He would bring some sort of audience, and that did cross my mind. I mean, you all think it's a coincidence that he gets cleared 5 months before his contract was up, a couple weeks before WrestleMania? But then again, if you want to create significant buzz for WrestleMania, this has certainly done it. We have never had this many people on a breaking news podcast before, and we had quite a few on the Kurt Angle one. That being said, WWE seems to be open to clearing some of these people that they didn't want to touch. They didn't want to touch Kurt Angle for a very, very long time. How does this affect Paige? I don't think it does, man. I think Paige is in the same boat with an edge, and that's unfortunate. I've dealt with a lot of spinal stenosis in my life and some neck injuries, and that's not something you can play around with. Neither are concussions either, but I don't want Paige to get paralyzed. I think Paige has a future in a ton of different roles. I think Paige has a potential in more roles than Daniel Bryan did. And that may be controversial to say, but I think that Paige is more comfortable behind the mic. She could do commentary. She could do scouting. She could do a lot of stuff. Any truth about the big cast clearing? No. Oh, I don't want to say no. I'm checking up on it. I know that he was backstage this week at Raw and has been working out the PC. Any update on Joe? Yeah, that was a lot worse than they had originally anticipated. They hoped that it was just plantar fasciitis. Ended up being a rupture, and that's what you got there. As always, guys, we do have that Fightful.com injury report. You all can go to FightfulWrestling.com, slide over to our exclusives, and then you find our injury reports, contract updates. Oh, man. RIP my mentions. RIP any semblance of rest that I was going to get this week. It's a wild one. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you all tune into that post SmackDown podcast. It is going to be wild tonight. Any questions you all have, join us tonight. Live SmackDown coverage. Hit us up in the discussion area. We'll answer your questions. Hit us up on Twitter at Fightful Online or Fightful Wrestling, or at Sean Ross Sapp on Twitter. I'm working really, really hard to find anybody in WWE who will go on the record, off the record with me about this. To be honest with you, WWE wrestlers aren't allowed to go on the record with Fightful.com because we're not Sports Illustrated and we're not ESPN, so we can't be co-opted. Hot dog. Also, I have that Fightful Wrestling Weekly that drops this Friday morning. Check it out. Thank you guys, my friends. We're out.